Hey, welcome to CMN Less Than 10. It's a resource produced by the Church Multiplication Network, guaranteed to be less than 10 minutes. That we're going to be held accountable. There's going to be a little timer. It's going to be superimposed on the screen, so if we're talking 10-minute mark, they'll cut us off. I'm here with my friend Lacey Hartman. She is one of the pastors at Rockhills Church in Kansas, and we're going to be talking about when God calls you to a place that you've never been to before. New territory, uncharted territory. Why don't you give us a short backstory about how you guys ended up where you're at, and then we'll move to encouraging those that God is calling to new places.
Absolutely. So we were on staff at a church. We were youth pastors for 7 years. I was the connections pastor at our church. My husband's the youth pastor. Then we became campus pastors. We were there for 11 years. We loved it. We weren't looking to leave. And then one day, we all have those, right?
Always. There's always a one day.
God said, hey, you're going to be moving. And we didn't know where that meant. But a year later, that meant Manhatten, Kansas. You got to kind of throw Kansas in. People think, oh, that's so cool,
Right.
Manhattan.
You went to the big city.
Oh, there's a Manhattan, Kansas. So there is the Little Apple, and they really capitalize on that, which is awesome.
That is
you
awesome.
drive in Manhattan, Kansas on the highway, and that's a Little Apple.
That's awesome.
So, but we felt like, man, that this is where we're supposed to go. We knew one person
Wow.
when we moved there. It's been amazing.
So you knew one person. You
Yeah.
packed up everything.
We did.
The whole family
Yep.
with the dream and with the desire to follow after God's call.
Yeah.
What was that call?
Absolutely. We felt like, well, why are we going to Manhattan?
Right.
What's in Manhattan? We didn't, have relationship there. There wasn't, it's not real sexy. There's no beach.
Right.
That there's nothing that real
You're in the
exciting.
middle of
We are
nowhere.
in the middle, yes, Middle Earth, my husband likes to call
Yes,
it,
yes.
And, but so as we started doing the demographic study, we realized 65% of our community is unclaimed to
Wow.
any faith.
Wow.
Which, you think Middle Earth, Bible
Right.
Belt.
It's
But obviously it's not anymore.
Right.
And so we thought, okay, if 65% is unconnected, that's what God's calling us to do.
Wow.
So we feel like we're supposed to connect the unconnected, provide a safe place
Wow.
for people to find and follow Jesus.
So that looked like a church. You were going to
Yes.
start a church.
Yeah. Felt like, we have K-State University, so big college town, and
Right.
then just a few miles down the road is Fort Riley, which is a big Army base.
Wow.
And so felt like, man, we are in an area where we're going to be able to send people out. And want to provide a place, just a fresh expression
Right.
of the gospel. There are great churches there. We're friends with a lot of the pastors. We have good unity
right.
in the city, but felt like maybe we could be a part of a fresh expression.
So how do you start that? Do you get jobs? Do people churches had to start at some point. So
Yeah.
how did you get there? And when you got there, what did you start doing?
Absolutely. Well, we had been at a church for 11 years, and thankfully, man, if you are on staff somewhere and you feel like, man, God's about to call you out, man, leave well.
Wow, that's very
leave
good.
with honor.
Right, very good.
Don't
Write
leave
that
until
down.
you're supposed to.
Yes.
There were different moments along those 11 years that we felt like, God, are you transitioning?
Right.
But man, we grow where you're planted.
Sure.
But then go when God tells you to
Right.
go. But so we were in this, season of just, okay, it's time to go. And so thankfully the church took an offering for us, and it was a miracle, really,
Wow,
offering. And
that's
so the
awesome.
offering, we were able to save for our salary, for one
Wow.
salary.
Right.
So my husband,
Yeah.
we had him take that salary so we could at
Right.
least, eat.
Right. What a blessing to have a
yes.
church that sends you out like that.
Yes, it was
Wow,
amazing.
that's
And then
great.
I got a job at Chick-fil-A.
Praise God.
And
Closer
it
to
was
heaven.
awesome. Exactly.
You didn't have to work on
Yes,
Sundays.
yeah.
So you can definitely start a church if you have a job at
Yes,
Chick-fil-A.
exactly.
That's
And
awesome.
and so worked, but really, honestly, only worked there for a few months, because
Right.
then I really felt like God said, hey, do you trust me
time.
to provide? And so then we just both jumped in full time to
Now
the church.
that job did enable you, I'm sure, to set up relationships with
Yeah.
people in the community, at least meet a couple of people that might be interested in that fresh expression, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you
and
have
a
any
big-
stories of anyone that you worked with, or anyone that you came into the store that got baptized and became the next Billy Graham?
Yeah, yes, yes. I just can't tell it publicly.
Sure.
And so, no, I think the biggest thing for us. So we lived in an apartment complex when we first moved there, and so there's,
Key.
yes,
Yeah.
huge. would encourage you to live in an apartment
Right.
complex if you're about to start
Right.
a church, because you can't hide in your garage.
Right.
You have to, you're carrying groceries in as somebody else's, and,
Right.
and you immediately can meet people. And so when we moved into our apartment complex, I'm not a big cook, but I made banana bread,
Wow.
and then we went door to door and just said, hey, we're
That's
your new
so
neighbors, and if you ever want to do dinner, and
So
one of
good.
our couples that was right across on the first floor, they ended up coming. Their
Wow.
family was serving. He was our first drummer. Others in
That's
our
awesome.
building got saved, and it's been amazing. Yeah.
So that's the real deal. If you're watching
Yes.
this and God's calling you to a new place, a couple of things to take note. First of all, is you might have to do something you've never done before, like work at a Chick-fil-A.
Mm-hmm.
God's going to stretch you and maybe put you outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Like cooking banana bread for your neighbors. And also, you have to be willing to have a conversation with
Yeah.
people, right? Like, you have to, like Mark chapter 4, what is secret has to come to light, right? It has to
Absolutely.
be exposed. And so when you go to a new town to start a new church, you have to have conversations that maybe you didn't have to have as a staff pastor or at an established church. After those conversations and after the church gets started, what are some of the things that you learned being in this community that God really showed you as now you're a full-time pastor with your husband as a family? What are some things that you learned about church that you didn't know before?
Oh man, I think mobilizing people. We came from a church that was established, and we had assistants and had
Right.
staff, and then had amazing
Right.
dream teamers that
People
you
kinda
kind of
showed up on Sunday.
Yes,
Right,
exactly.
right.
And so building that and really being strategic and being intentional about that, I think has been good. But I think even on the side of now, once church is happening every single week, or at least the
Right.
expression on Sunday,
Right.
Not getting stuck in that and
Yeah.
forgetting, now we are in a neighborhood, and so we've shifted from the apartment complex,
Right.
and now, well, how do we win our street?
Right.
Because just as much as we want our people to be making disciples, how are we winning our street? How are
Right.
we getting to know our neighbors and
You have to live
having
it out
conversation?
yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really, really key. Now, the town that you're in is military and college,
Yes.
so it's transient, and we've talked about this before with her husband Troy on a different episode. But tell me about how you, as a pastor's wife and a pastor, how have you acclimated to that kind of relational turnover that happens as a pastor's wife and maybe someone that's high relational? How have you acclimated to this turnover where you might have a friend for 6 months or a friend for a
Yeah.
year and then they're gone?
Yeah, I don't know if I've fully acclimated.
Right.
It's hard,
Yeah.
because you're constantly saying goodbye, but you're constantly saying hello. So
Wow.
I think for us, we just try to be as authentic as we can and as vulnerable as fast as we can.
Wow.
Not let walls be up, because
Right.
it's easy to do that. Because
Right.
you're like, man, you're just going to be gone. But just jumping in with people.
Right. Trying your best to fast track the relationship
Yes.
and not assume that, since you're only going to be here for a certain period of time, might as well not even be friends, but instead
Absolutely.
the opposite. Since you're
Yes.
only going to be here for a short period of time, let's become good friends quickly.
Yes,
Now, what does that
absolutely.
look like on a church level? That looks like small groups, I'm sure, have a lot of turnover and serve teams and all those things.
Yeah.
Have you found that people are opening up faster now that you've established that culture?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with Growth Track, obviously, what a great system. That's helping people acclimate faster. Small groups consistently, we do them through, semester based,
Right,
so
right.
they're, you're not committing to a year because you may not be here for a
they
year.
can get in and get out. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's been huge. And then, we're trying to develop, it's not great yet, but it's, kind of an organic stage of just faith coaches, of people that are available that are just, hey, I may just be a step ahead, but, if
That's
you're
great.
ready to jump in and take steps, then somebody to come along one-on-one
That's really good.
to coach him.
So
Yeah.
let's say, as we have about a minute and 20 seconds left, let's say that someone's watching this and God is calling them to the unknown, to a brand new place, a brand new city.
Yeah.
Why don't you encourage them with one quick word as we wrap up our time, something that will build their faith and maybe encourage them to take that step?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Lean in. If Jesus is stirring your heart, it's such an honor that He loves us and He has a plan for us. So cling to it that Jesus has called you. Don't do it because it's trendy,
Yeah.
or do it because you don't like your pastor. That's going to follow
very
you.
good.
So you fix that first. But man, if God's calling you, then lean in, have fun, enjoy enjoy the adventure. If you've got kids, God's calling not just you, but He's
Right.
calling your kids to
Very
make sure
good.
it's a family effort, and just excited to celebrate what God does all over the
That's
world.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I
Thanks,
appreciate
dude.
your time.
Yeah.
God bless you guys. Thanks for watching this week's episode of CMN Less Than 10.